Top 100 Scary SCPs.
Item number SCP-1372. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. Armed Containment Site 70 is to be established on the island of under the guise of a USPACOM naval installation construction for the purpose of long-term joint maritime warfare training. 4 Arleigh-Burke-class guided missile destroyers, DDGs, are to be maintained at ACS-70, with at least 2 patrolling Zone 1372 Alpha at all times. Owing to the nature of SCP-1372, it is not possible to move the anomaly to a facility for containment. Instead, the focus will be on minimizing civilian contact with the anomaly. An area extending from the anomaly to 100 kilometers east of the anomaly and from 100 kilometers south to 100 kilometers north of the south and north extents of the anomaly is to be established, designated Zone 1372 Alpha. Areas with similar dimensions but extents of 5 kilometers and 1 kilometer are also to be established, termed 1372 Bravo and Zone 1372 Charlie, respectively. Satellite monitoring is to be maintained of the entirety of Zone 1372 Alpha at all times. If any ship is detected approaching the boundary zone of 1372 Alpha, radio contact is to be attempted by ACS-70 personnel. The operator is to identify themselves as being a military officer, inform the ship that military exercises are taking place in the area, and advise the crew to alter their path to avoid Zone 1372 Alpha or to exit it as soon as possible. If the ship refuses to alter course or radio contact is impossible, crew of the nearest DGG are to intercept and block the ship's path. The crew of the ship breaching Zone 1372 Alpha are to be subdued, administered Class C amnestics, and airlifted to the nearest island. Any and all instances of 1372-1 are to be engaged and scuttled at once by ACS-70 staff. Under no circumstances is any such instance to be permitted across the perimeter of Zone 1372 Bravo. However, ships are not to pass the boundary of Zone 1372 Charlie in the process. Ships that show signs of crew being affected by SCP-1372 are to be remotely detonated and sunk. In addition, following Incident 1372/5, no aircraft are to be permitted within Zone 1372 Charlie, including those under the control of Foundation personnel. Foundation personnel are to maintain contact with all airlines and airports servicing any area within a 200-kilometer radius of SCP-1372, and are to advise air traffic controllers that the area indicated is in the vicinity of an USPACOM military base and is frequently host to military training exercises that will threaten the safety of any civilian aircraft passing through. Aircraft breaching the 200-kilometer line are to be contacted immediately and advised to alter course for their own safety. Aircraft that ignore this warning and breach the perimeter of 1372 Alpha are to be intercepted by onboard SH-60 helicopters and forced to land on the island. They will be treated in the same manner as crews of ships breaching the area. Description: SCP-1372 is the geodesic segment located along coordinates longitude and extending from south to south latitude. Ships crossing SCP-1372 while traveling from west to east do not suffer any ill effects, though the D-Class personnel used in tests of this nature have reported a compulsion to look west, lasting approximately 6 hours, and strong desire to turn around and sail back. After testing, it has been determined that if a ship turns around and sails across SCP-1372 before exiting the boundary of Zone 1372 Alpha, no ill effects are observed beyond continuation of the aforementioned psychological effects. When a ship approaches SCP-1372 from the east, traveling west, observers on board the ship will observe a termination of the horizon at a closer distance to their ship directly west than in any other direction. At closer range, the horizon appears to have a physical point of termination. corresponding to what observers describe as an edge of the Earth. This effect is visible from any point within Zone 1372 Alpha. Other than cognizance of the edge and a mild curiosity as to what it looks like closer up, no psychological effects are noticed at this stage. Further approach increases the perception of the edge within Zone 1372 Bravo. Subjects experience a minor compulsion to continue in spite of any perceived or communicated dangers, and will resist attempts to change their course. This effect becomes more pronounced within Zone 1372 Charlie, and even after removal, subjects will attempt to build or procure a ship and continue towards SCP-1372, regardless of time of separation and in spite of all curative attempts. A small number of subjects appear to be immune to these effects, though. It is currently not understood why. Any ship that crosses SCP-1372 will disappear from all forms of visual contact. GPS monitoring abruptly cuts off once the ship crosses completely. Observers report that the bow of the ship tips down upon crossing SCP-1372, and the ship appears to descend. However, remote observation does not observe the same effects. No personnel have been successfully recovered after crossing SCP-1372, and remote probes do not appear to function properly. Thus, the nature of the area entered by ships crossing SCP-1372 is not yet fully understood. All that is currently known is inferred from analysis and eyewitness reports concerning instances of SCP-1372-1. On occasion, sailing ships will emerge from SCP-1372. These are collectively designated as SCP-1372-1. Observation of these vessels has shown that the sails are tattered or missing, and engines are corroded beyond usability. In at least 5 cases, the rudder of the ship has been observed to have been destroyed, and one instance of SCP-72-1 was found with a large hole below the waterline. It is currently unknown how instances are able to sail. To date, over 50 instances of SCP-1372-1 have been observed and contained by the Foundation, of which corresponded to ships reported missing in the region or which were observed to cross SCP-1372 previously. No attempts are to be made to communicate with any entity on board an instance of SCP-1372-1. Note: following Incident 1372-3, it is now apparent that the effects of 1372 extend not only to any type of sailing vessel, but also to aircraft which cross the geodesic segment. Detainment procedures will be modified accordingly. No testing of any kind involving flying vehicles may be performed on SCP-1372. Due to their heightened speed and mobility, it is highly undesirable that there be any possibility of a flying instance of SCP-1372-1 being created. Document 1372-1. The following is a classified top secret. Access is restricted to researchers with a clearance level of 4 or higher. The following is an excerpt from the logbook of Mariner serving on the ship, translated from the writer's native Spanish. Begin log. 12:04. I started to get a very strange feeling today. The sea is as calm as it ever was, but I feel like we shouldn't be sailing this way. The supplies are still holding out. Nothing's spoiled, but I can't shake this feeling that we should be sailing west, not east. Still, there's no reason to feel that way, and we've yet to find the trading passage, so I'll just keep this to myself. 13:04. Turns out I'm not the only one feeling this way. The captain can find the same feeling in me, and when we asked around, it seems quite a few of the other sailors are saying the same thing. Says it's an omen, and that we're likely getting close to the edge of the Earth, but the captain says to sail on. Note: based on these writings, it is presumed that on April 12th, the ship and its companions crossed SCP-1372. 19:04. We made landfall on a small island, inhabited, though thank God it seems the inhabitants are friendly. They're damned good cartographers too. They've got maps of nearby islands for what seems to be 500 leagues east of here, but oddly enough, their maps never show anything to the west. Must be some sort of native religious taboo. Maybe they're supposed to regard this island as being closest to their gods. We've seen plenty stranger than that on our way here. Either way, they're friendly, they've got maps of where we're heading, and most importantly, there's plenty of supplies. So why do I feel like we should be sailing back west? 2204. The captain ordered a turnaround today. He claims that the food supply may have been tainted. I went below to check myself, but most of it seems to have been thrown overboard already. Not that I care all that much. We've all wanted to sail back that way the past week. 2304. Horizon looks weird today. Almost like it stops. Still, sailing back west. 2504. Made landfall on the island from before. The chief looks like he was expecting us. The fleet is sailing on tonight. Lucky the west wind seems to be in our favor. 2704. If anyone ever finds this, do not sail west from here. All those men were scoffed at were right after all. The world is flat after all, and I've seen its edge. The captain sailed over with almost all hands on board. I and 3 others escaped in attempts to restrain us, stole the ship's longboat, rowing away as fast as we could to screams of "coward" from the remaining hands. The ship never turned though, and soon we watched the captain's flagship tip over the edge of the world and fall down into the gulf beyond. May God rest their souls. 3004. Rowing together, we managed to make it back to the island. The chief's taking care of us while we work out what to do next with our remaining ships here. 0205. The flagship returned today, unlooked for. The captain and his men are aboard. We can see them from here, and we're sailing out to meet them. A man has sailed beyond the edge of the world and returned. What a glorious day for our nation of 35. The captain was only after a fashion on board. Same goes for the crew. They're gone now. The flames took them. Today is mostly a blur. All I know is the moment I heard the men on board the ship speak, I didn't want to understand their far-off words. I wanted to destroy them before they could speak again. God help me. I helped the natives do just that, and now the flagship lies just offshore, one pristine sail still fluttering in the wind. Forgive me, Captain, but I no longer want to know what you saw beyond the edge of the earth. 19. After what I saw that day, I couldn't bring myself to return to the sea. The few of us that fled the ships and the longboats as they sailed blithely over the edge into whatever hell lies beyond are the only ones who remain. With the natives' help, we were able to make our way north to Asia and slip back west overland. We'll have to invent quite a story to explain how over 200 men died, but we'll think of something. We sail at dawn for the Canary Islands. Hopefully, if we come in from the east, we can convince them that we were coming from across the Atlantic. I think it's best for the peace of mind of the world if we tell them there isn't an edge. Some damn fool is bound to go looking for it, just so another ship could end up like the... Again, even thinking about something like that, freely sailing the seas, is reason enough to keep that place a secret. If anyone asks, we sailed around the world. First men, quite an honor. Shame it has to be a lie, and I know lying's a sin, but none of those men in the Bible ever saw what I saw on board that dark ship. Forgive me, Lord, but the world needs this children's story, and not a man's truth. The following document is classified top secret. Access is restricted to researchers with a clearance level of 4, 1372 or higher. Interview log 1372-1. Chief is the appointed elder of the native tribe inhabiting. This island is the only landmass located inside the zone of 1372 Alpha. All inhabitants are aware of the effects of SCP-1372. While most of the inhabitants speak at least limited English, as well as a language determined to be of Malayo-Polynesian family, a small number speak a dialect completely incomprehensible to the other inhabitants and refuse violently any attempts to teach them the common speech. Chief, in particular, became violent towards Foundation personnel when an attempt was made to communicate in English. However, after several weeks of work, Dr. Foundation linguist and anthropologist was able to decipher enough of the language to hold the following interview with Chief.
Thank you for speaking with us, Elder.
I am to understand you wish to contain this place, the Edge. If that is the case, then I will need to impart you with my knowledge of this, what did you call it?
An anomalous region. You aren't going to resist our efforts here.
We are simple people who have trouble enough with one ship. You are representative of an entire nation. I certainly wish for things to continue as they are, but what would resisting accomplish? You would simply take what you desire regardless, and then you would be without my knowledge.
I understand. Please tell me what you know about the anomaly.
Our people still recall the stories of that group whose log brought you here. I pity what became of their captain. As you no doubt learned from the log, our maps do not show anything west of us. You know why that is now. We can all see it, Doctor. Despite that, from time to time, some of the young men band together and set out on a ship. They want to see what lies beyond the edge of the map. Aren't your people the same way, Doctor?
Curiosity is one thing, but the anomaly, well...
You are correct, but you did not fly in from the east. As for what lies beyond the edge, I have no more idea than you. Or rather, I don't know in the manner your people want to hear. All I can tell you is what returns.
You've come into contact with the anomalous vessels, then?
If that is your term for the ships that return from the edge, then yes, I have seen a few. We learned very early on, Doctor, that while they look just like our own ships and our own people, they are no longer ours. Their nature is not something I understand, but whatever lies beyond that edge does not lie on this earth. Those who make contact, you saw that yourself the other day. Firsthand, I believe, they are made like them, part of the crew of those plague ships.
A plague? Will you explain that further, Elder? We examined the men on the vessel, and we opened their bodies, and within found none of the things that cause diseases.
Perhaps it is not a plague as you or I understand it, Doctor, but it is a plague nonetheless.
I understand that, Elder. I want to understand what you mean by that word, that is all. It is not any of the kinds of diseases we know, so it must be one your people know of and we do not.
It is not the kind that you know and that doctors treat, not like the disease that covers the skin in painful spots, or that brings pain and sleep upon us. We call it ilequa. It is carried not by sneezes or by touching the blood of the infected, like the diseases you know. It is carried in the words of the infected one, in the knowledge he brings from beyond the edge of the world. Because of this, doctors cannot treat it, for it is like Kurujin, that strange disease that the sailors from the vast islands brought with them, that makes the young people say there are no spirits except for one who is also three and who lives among the clouds. Do you understand?
I believe I do, Elder. We have a different word than disease for things like Kurujin and ilequa in our language, though.
You asked if I knew what lies beyond the edge. Our people tell it is the realm of where the dead dwell, but that is not an answer that satisfies a man of the great islands, and of the nature of realm we have no more idea than you. You surely noticed my anger at your assistant speaking in the vast island's tongue, but I cannot be allowed to comprehend that tongue.
And why is that? Surely it would make speaking with the sailors who join your tribe easier.
If I knew the speech of the vast islands as those sailors and many of my people do, then I would understand the words of those who return from beyond the edge. And if I understand, then I too will become like the damned men you sent on board the vessel that returned 3 days ago. You see?
I don't believe I follow, Elder.
I told you, Doctor. The words of those who return from beyond the end of the world are a message from. They sing his praises eternally as they sail the sea, and they speak of what you crave to know, and any who comprehend their words will fall to the plague as well. That is why we do not know the nature of the realm where the dead dwell. Months before you came, a ship appeared from the edge whose crew spoke in the speech of the vast islands, and my people and the sailors who lived with them comprehended. They all joined the crew of that ship. It was with great difficulty indeed that we were able to destroy that plague ship.
Simple comprehension passes on the contagion? Then the reason you won't learn English or the common tongue.
You understand now? That is why my people use fire against it, as that logbook you found surely tells. If I am to trust you with safeguarding the edge, then you must understand that. It is a plague, and it cannot be allowed to leave these waters. When it was just my people and their simple longboats, it was easy. Even when that man's entire fleet emerged, one by one, we somehow managed to subdue each ship in turn. But now you have machines that fly through the air, and ships that dwarf the mighty sharks of the deep. And out in the open air of our world, I am far from sure your foundation can contain or protect from what the plague ships carry.
That's what we do, Elder.
That is what you desire to do, Doctor. I entrust this island to your keeping, and I entrust the edge to you to guard. Fail, and the plague ships will come. Do not betray us.
When you get down to it, the messed up thing is that we as humans don't really know what the limitations and boundaries of our world are, and even remotely how it works. What I mean is, yeah, there's like 3,000 people out there in 2023 right now who legitimately believe the Earth is flat. And yeah, it's a joke. You know, everyone likes to point and laugh and ha-ha at them, including myself. But at the end of the day, we're not observing the Earth as it's been explained to us. You know, we can't perceive from us standing right here that it is round. You know, science is debatable, and how religion explains things into existence, of course, is also highly debatable. So, until we have concrete understanding, I mean, who's to say what's reality and what's not? The difference between right and wrong. You choose to believe whatever your truth might be, but until you actually experience something, it's just faith. Thanks for hanging out, guys, if you're still here. Make sure you subscribe. Ring the bell. Stay tuned for more. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.